Hopefully my screen is a lot better because I have a new computer. I've been saving and I finally pulled the trigger and bought my new computer, and it's life-changing, honest to God. So I'm on my computer live in my Facebook group, and I'm on my phone on Instagram. So um Alan looks good. Thanks, Alan. So, how are you guys? Happy Friday. What a trip this week has been. I got back from California on Sunday night, and that 3 hour time difference was a killer this time around. So, that was definitely a struggle. And I honestly don't know if my body is still if it's in West Coast time or East Coast time at this point, because this morning was definitely like a 4 to 5 snooze type of morning, and that's usually not me. Usually my alarm goes off and I'm like, boom, I'm ready for action. So, and anyway, so I've been promising this live for a while, and so here we are. I'm going to talk about the three steps to healthy singing. Now, before you're like, oh, this is a boring topic, I want to tell you guys that healthy singing should never be taken for granted, and healthy vocal folds especially should never be taken as just something that you obviously have. Because if you knew the amount of professional singers that have had to have basically vocal reconstructive surgery, that's basically what it is, you would be mind blown. And there's actually a lot of articles out there about it. Um, Lots of articles about, you know, who's all had to have vocal nodules removed, whose surgeries went well, whose surgeries didn't go well. And it's not a given that your vocal fold surgery is going to go well if you have to have it. So why would someone need to get vocal fold surgery? So the vocal folds, you can think about them as two small flaps of skin that are in the throat, and they come together, they vibrate together when we sing, when we make sound. And sometimes, if we're overusing them or using them in the wrong way, they can get what's called nodules, right? You can get polyps, nodules. It's all kind of in the same thing. And when the vocal fold gets a nodule on it, you can think about it as almost a callus or a bump. So imagine two flat surfaces and one of them has a bump on them. Well, all of a sudden, are those two surfaces able to come together tightly anymore? No. Now there's all of a sudden a slack part of the vocal fold that's not able to come together. Hi, Juan. And then that results in a very raspy, airy sound no matter what you do. And while if caught early, which if you're working with a vocal teacher, usually they can help you catch it early. If you're working, this is another reason why I say if you're not going to see a voice teacher all the time, that's fine, but someone should at least be listening to your voice every couple months so that they can listen for any damage. Now, of course, not all voice teachers are also going to be able to hear the damage, because when vocal fold damage is minimal, sometimes it can just sound like you're hoarse, sometimes it can just sound like you maybe didn't warm up enough, all those things. But all this to say that it's really serious stuff. And if you start developing polyps or nodules, either you have to go to a voice therapist who can train you to speak or sing the right way, and then that kind of will help those basically disappear. But if they're bad enough, you have to go have surgery to remove the polyp or the nodule. So yeah, pretty crazy stuff. So anyway, I don't think it's talked about enough. Vocal health, that's what we're going to talk about today. So the first thing that I know a lot of you are doing, but a lot of you are not doing, so I'm going to step on my soapbox for a moment, is warming up. Okay, now I know most of my students and my online students, my members of my membership program, they're warming up because I give them so many new warm-ups every month. But those of you who aren't necessarily in any of my programs, that you guys are maybe just what I would call YouTube voice lesson junkies. You guys are just watching a bunch of YouTube videos. Um, Perhaps you guys are not warming up every single time you sing. You kind of view it as its own thing. But I want to remind you that warming up is one of the best things you can do to ensure vocal health, because when you're warming up, you give yourself that time to stretch out your vocal folds, work them, get in tune with your body, get in tune with your breath support, and just take time to get that moving. Whereas if you hit the ground running with like an extremely difficult song, you're not necessarily going to be ready. Like your voice is not going to be ready to do that. And maybe you'll make it through the song one time, but then you're going to have so much vocal fatigue and so much exhaustion that maybe you're only going to be able to sing one time. And then if you keep pushing your voice past that, then you're going to start getting sore. Then that soreness can kind of build, right? We know we've all had days where we've just nothing to do with warming up or not warming up, but we've just sung too much, and you feel it. You definitely feel it for a day or two after. So moral of the story, warm up. Okay. Warm up, number one. Number two is ask yourself, what registers are you utilizing when you're singing? So what I've come across with a lot of my new students is that a lot of my new students have been trying to sing notes that normally they would need to switch into their head voice. They're not trying to belt, but they're accidentally belting. And accidental belting is really, really, really bad. Really bad for us. That's why we really discourage kids from belting, because a lot of the time they're doing like what I would call accidental belting. And that just means that they are legitimately not supporting their sound. They're not prepared. Their bodies aren't expanded, and they're not quite ready to actually sing that high in their chest voice. Because remember, a belt is remaining in our chest voice, chest dominance, right? Not necessarily we're 100% in our chest voice, but we're remaining chest voice dominance up in our belt. Okay. So really, really check in. If you're singing a high note, are you trying to sing this high note in head voice? Are you trying to belt it? Or are you accidentally belting it? And if you're accidentally belting it, take a step back. I usually tell my students, if you're not quite sure how to belt yet, if you haven't been properly taught how to belt, that it's a good idea to just hold off on it until either you can work with somebody or you can really take the time to train yourself how to do it correctly. And it's not easy. It's not an easy thing to learn. Because it really is a special, like, next level skill, I would say. So that's the second thing, is asking yourself, what register am I in? Am I singing in my head voice, or am I accidentally belting? And the one of the things that you can kind of note if you feel like you might be accidentally belting is if you're singing these high notes and you feel like you have to grip and almost yell to get to them. Okay, so that's so crazy, but that it happens all the time. So lastly, when the number 3 thing is that I want you guys to really, really start tuning in to your voice. Not to what your voice sounds like, but to what your voice feels like. Okay? Because a lot of you are solely basing how good you think you're doing off of how you think you sound. And remember that you actually sound different to yourself when you're singing than what you sound like out here to everyone else. So when you are singing, I really want you to start asking yourself this question. How does my throat feel? How does my body feel? Is my body engaged? And how does my mouth feel? Right? Because if you are all of a sudden tuning in for the first time and you're like, wow, my throat kind of hurts. It constantly feels like I need to swallow. It constantly feels like I need to clear my throat. Those are all signs that there's something going on here. Don't panic. right? Again, do not panic, but there are definite signs that something's going on here that shouldn't be happening. Um, that those and let me go over those three feelings again. So we're actually talking about pain. If you're feeling pain in your neck, stop singing. If you feel like you constantly have to clear your throat, there's also something going on. If you feel like there's something in your throat, like almost like you're getting a sore throat, something is going on with your singing. Another feeling you could be having is like pressure pushing down. That is also contributing. That's tongue tension contributing to that pressure. So um, I know this is a long list, but one thing is when you, even if you just go have a couple voice lessons with someone, they're going to be able to help you identify what's going on. Hey, John. They're going to, or Matt, it's Matt. Hey, Matt. They're going to be able to help identify what's going on and help you with it, and just help you kind of troubleshoot. Because that's one thing that's almost impossible to do by yourself is to troubleshoot. Um, once you're a trained singer, once you've been taking voice lessons for a long time, that's one of the things your teacher is teaching you how to do is to troubleshoot alone. So when you're by yourself, can you be your own teacher? But it's really tough to do it just when you've never done it before, you're by yourself. Yeah, so let me just review those three things. So number one is making sure you're always warming up. Don't skip your warm up to go to your song. If your warm up is your most important part of your whole time. So if you can only go do the warm up, just do the warm up, And then number two is to I just lost it. What was it? What was number two? Don't know. I'll come back to number two. Alan, what was number two? Number three, we'll come back to number two. Number three is to tune into your body when you're singing. So start asking yourself, what does my body feel like when I'm singing, instead of what do I think I sound like, right? Hey, Cedric. Hey, Alessandra. Oh, here we go. It's asking yourself what register you're in. It's been a week, guys. It's been a week. I haven't done one of these in a while. So, yeah, number two was asking yourself what register are you in? Are you accidental belting, or are you, are you trying to belt, or are you not trying to belt? Are you in your head voice? Are you in your chest voice? And really getting in tune with that. Because that's where a lot of mistakes happen. That's where a lot of over aggressive singing, unhealthy singing happens. Okay, do you guys have any questions? Thanks, Alessandra. Do you guys have any questions? I know that I'm probably about 30 seconds ahead of all of these lives. I'm still working on this smoothie that I posted like an hour and a half ago. Okay, so last week or this past week, I let me know if you guys have any questions while I'm finishing this up. I posted what questions I should answer in my live, and people actually sent a ton of them. So my goal is to do one live a week, and I'm really legitimately going to start recording YouTube videos again next week. I have not been recording YouTube videos. I took a break. I had to refresh, and I definitely am going to record for next week. Alessandra says, can belting hurt your back too? I mean, it could be, I guess it could be a stretch. I don't think that belting really is going to hurt your back unless you're doing crazy things while you're belting. But knowing that, your back, you do really feel your back muscles expand when you're breathing, when you're taking those low breaths. So maybe if your back is already sore, maybe you won't be able to belt as effectively. Because definitely when I'm ready to belt, I'm feeling everything expand, including my back. But I wouldn't say that it can hurt your back by just accidental belting. Good question though. Okay, guys. Thanks so much for coming today. A lot of you popped in. I'm excited to be able to do lives in both places and not have one of them be super blurry. Hopefully the Facebook one's pretty good. Alan said it looked good. And my Instagram, I always have on my phone. So I'll see you guys next week. And thanks for being here today. If you guys are watching this on the replay and you have any questions, let me know in the comments and I will respond back to them as soon as possible. I hope you guys have a fabulous weekend and I'll see you later.